And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing. Yes.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
Black people can't be anti-Semitic. We are Jew. You understand what I'm saying? We are Jew. So cool out. Until you do your facts, until you really do the facts with the fake indoctrination that y'all pull into the schools and all that, you know what I'm saying? We're not following y'all rules.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient is there. That's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time,
But
all that he said,
I know. We don't have.
there are so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of
Yes.
notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah, with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
They don't pay rent. The city doesn't have it's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. It'll end immediately. We are the party of common sense. I knew that once they had open borders, all of the countries, I didn't think about all over the world. I thought in South America, it's all over the world. Last week, a lot of people came in from the Congo, a big prison in the Congo in Africa. Welcome to the United States. They came in from the Congo.
This world and the next world are asymmetrical. The next world is where the majority of a person's actions, which determine his identity, are compensated. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black, are excluded from the world to come.
The DNA tests that they've done on the Israelis that are living over there. They're Eastern European Ashkanazi Jews.
Without getting too semantic, or at the risk of getting too semantic, does it matter that the Jews are not Semites, or does this phrase anti-Semitism just means hatred for the Jewish people? They're Ashkenazi, they're Eastern European Jews.
How about you? Are you a white Jew?
So we could elaborate on this debate. I'm going to try to stay sort of in the pocket here, one thing at a time. But am I white passing? Absolutely. How we're going to define
you say you're white passing.
There are Ashkenazi Jews who are entirely European in their DNA. That's why you're not allowed to have a DNA test in Israel, because it will reveal that virtually none of them are Semitic, virtually none of them have any ancestral connection to the land. I was viciously assaulted by a manager in the BBC who had recently converted to Judaism. It's fine. I love all religions. But you can't say I've now converted to Judaism and therefore I have a right to go to the land of Palestine and live in the house of someone whose ancestors have been living in it for thousands of years.
You can convert to Judaism. You can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
That's what the Zionists did, except instead of a baseball team, they went to try to convince the Jews that the Jewish people are a nation, like France and like Spain. We'll get a land, that's Israel, that's our stadium. We'll get baseball bats and balls, we'll create a language. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages. They sat down to create a language. They sat down to create a language.
They sat down to create a language.
The religion created the Jewish people. The definition of a Jewish person is somebody who is transformed by receiving the Torah.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact,
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. My apologies for being a little late. I'm late because I uploaded some videos. You know, when I do certain discussions, I like to have some video clips to kind of help set the tone and to give you guys an opportunity to kind of judge for yourself as well. And so tonight I'm going to touch on a couple of things here. We're going to deal with, I'm going to show you a video and we'll discuss it as one of the things I'm going to talk about. And then also Candace Owens, because she's been on quite a tear. She's been on quite a tear. And the thing I want to really touch on about Candace Owens is I believe that she's playing possum. And I'll explain it to you when we get to that portion of the discussion. But I believe she's playing possum towards who she is. I believe she's playing possum. But let me first change this banner. I didn't realize my banner is from last night's live. All right, let me change my banner. All right, that should do it. All right, I want to play this interesting video I came across, and I want you guys to share your thoughts. You know, and I know some of you guys are familiar with some of the information when it comes to Cesare Borgia, but I came across this video that gave an interesting perspective on Caesar, or Cesare Borgia. Let me play this video so that way you guys can, tell me what you think. Let me play it real quick. All right, here's the video. Shout outs to Berean Scholar in the building. Let me see here. I want you guys to peep out this video. Tell me what you think. Just post your comments inside the comment section. But it was an interesting perspective. Here we go.
Yes, the Last Supper took place in the Gospels, but according to Leonardo da Vinci, he had painted 12 individuals who were not the apostles. The woman in the middle, as we talked about last time, is Julia Farnese with a G. On her right is her daughter, Laura Farnese, we're thinking that's John, the Apostle St. John. The rest of the so-called apostles are those of the Medicis, Orsini's, Colonels, and the Farnese dynasties who were let out of the Roman prison-industrial complex. We've been lied to. In this picture that we've been taught was Christ from the chest up, with long hair with a brown and beige background going like this. That's not Christ. That's Cesare Borgia. But that's not their real last name. We go back into history. I thank God for my snap. They traced the bloodline of the Borgias. Their real name is Silva. It's not Borgia. Ilva, which is a Spanish Sephardic name. What does it mean? Silva, it is a Khazarian name. It's a Khazarian name. And again, to our Israeli brothers and sisters, they are Israelis, but they're not Israelites. So the Borgias are of Sephardic Spanish Khazarian blood. Christ has nothing to do with it. Christ was a Hebrew. Christ was a Yehudi, but not a Sephardic. And I got to tell you, when we're going to come back to the bloodline of the Borgias.
All right, so that was pretty interesting, that video there. Pretty interesting. I didn't get a chance to really go and do my deep dive on it. I did some research on it. And that was pretty interesting. Cesare Borgia, or Cesare Borgia, however you want to pronounce it. We all know that, he was gay, right? And had a relationship with Leonardo da Vinci. And so Leonardo da Vinci was inspired, right? And he was also tasked, rather, to, create a painting of Christ. And he used Caesar or Cesare Borgia as the template, the model. So from that day moving forward, right, he became the template. He became the Christ that, you see on Good Times, right? You guys familiar with Good Times? With Good Times with the white Jesus. And I think most of us had, as far as have relatives that had that white Jesus, that hippie Christ on the walls. And what was interesting is, just my grandmother always, told us who we are, that we are Israelites and all those things. But even she had white Jesus, right? The hippie Christ. That's what was interesting, right? But she had it on the wall, even though she told us who we are, told us about getting down to First African Baptist Church down in Savannah, Georgia. She knew who she is, right? But nevertheless, this is pretty interesting coming across this, because I'm not surprised, because if you study history, especially when you start understanding the Ashkanazis, because I haven't forgotten. I am working on part 2 with Blotted Out. And with that, I'm going to really touch on the Ashkenazi Jewish community. And I'm going to show sources, proof with sources, that the Ashkenazi Jews, right, they are the ones that created the Sephardic, right? They created that whole label because guess what? You have Khazarians, that are Sephardics, that use that title as being, Sephardic Jews or Ashkenazi. And I know a lot of people don't know these things. And I know many in this awakening automatically default Sephardic with Negroes. And that's not correct. The Maranos is who we need to focus on. It's a lot of, ambiguity when it comes to history during that time when you start dealing with the Spanish Inquisition. Because even when I started doing some research on the Cesare Borgia, as far as their family being, the origins of that family and, not just having Borgia as their default name, that they also, as you heard in the recording, that Silva was also a name that they went by. That's right, Silva. That, like you heard inside the video, right? Making it clear that, hey, the Borgias, their name is actually connected to Silva. And the actual person's name is Di Borgia Yide Silva. Excuse me if I didn't pronounce it correctly. This is not my language. So, but nevertheless, Di Borgia or Di Borgia Silva. So I started doing some deep dive on it. Didn't get a chance to continue on my research, which I plan on doing. So when just some of the research that I, and some of the information I got back as I was researching, Silva is connected to the Sephardic. We also see that Silva, when you start dealing with the ancestry of the name, you'll also see it associated with the Catholic, like the old Catholic noble house. And I do know that, and many of you may not know, that the Khazarians, they was in Spain. It was in the Iberian Peninsula. So many layers that many really don't know and understand. So again, the Ashkenazis, they are the ones who actually created the term Sephardic, right? And what makes it confusing, again, is because when you start dealing with the Sephardics and you start dealing with a lot of these names that they have embraced, you'll hear or you'll see wording, or should I say references to stating that the Sephardics are connected to the Conversos. And so this is how many of them, did start getting into the, the, how can I put it? The history of them being kicked out of the country, right? So they'll use that that connection, saying that they're connected to the Conversos. And that's one of the things that I saw when I was doing some research, saying that many of them, took that name based upon being connected to the Conversos. But that's where the confusion kicks in, because that suggests that the Sephardic Jews, right, were the ones that was being persecuted during the Spanish Inquisition. And that's the furthest from the truth, because the actual names that you'll see highlighted is the Maranos, right? The Maranos is historically proven that they were dark melanated people. But as the 17th century came around, and a lot of the racism and the whitewashing of things start transitioning the history. Because when you study the Spanish Inquisition, it was for the sake of conversation, you'll see that it's documented that Black Jews were sent to different territories of Portugal within different areas of Africa. And one of the common areas is Sao Tome. They were enslaved. Our ancestors were enslaved. And when you study and understand the Sephardics and the Ashkanazis, one of the famous Sephardics is Lopez, Aaron Lopez. Aaron Lopez was a Sephardic, and he dominated one of the ones that dominated the transatlantic slave trade or World War. I believe he was from Newport, Rhode Island. He owned the port. He had connections to, over 30 plus ships he owned, but then he also had connections to, in the upwards of over 100. So just want to really give you clarity on that, because that can be very, very, very confusing when you start studying the history. No, they were not Sephardic. They were persecuting Negroes, Maranos. That's what you see on record. And matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it in here real quick, because I'm going to use Sister Carol's favorite person, source, and let's see if he mentions anything about the Sephardic Jews and look at the verbiage that he uses. Let me see here real quick. Let's see here. All right, let's see here. I think it's this one. Let me see if it's in this presentation. All right. And I will copy this slide over. Yeah, found it. Let me copy this slide over. And let's see if we see Sephardic in this individual's source. Let me copy this over to this presentation. All right. You guys know me. I am always doing something. All right. Let me do one more thing. Okay. The individual that I'm going to use as a reference, because he did write a book that I had for a while, and I'll share that with you. But this is the individual. Before I'm not even going to share his name. I'll let you see a video clip. This is Sister Carol's favorite person, right? Let me play his clip if I still have it up. And this person is kind of like the gift that keeps giving, filled with contradictions. Here it is.
You say, well, where the name Ashkenazi came from? So a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now emigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany, they looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, so they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Japhet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin, Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin.
Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin.
Michael Brown, I am Caucasian. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else. It was shortened from a Russian name when my grandfather came over at Ellis Island. The name got shortened to Brown. It's just a name. That's all it is. So the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from Yafet is a myth, 100% false, zero truth to it. Just study the history.
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
All right, had to put that in there. Had to play that stranger danger. So Dr. Brown is who I'm going to use source because before I really had an idea who he was, I do have this book. I purchased this book when I was studying the Spanish Inquisition. All right, so let me go ahead and stretch this out, and let's see if Dr. Mike Brown mentions anything about the Sephardics, but he will use Maranos. Let's see here. All right, this is from his book, Our Hands Are Stained with Blood by Michael L. Brown. Okay. And this is dealing with the Spanish Inquisition. Now look at this here. The Inquisition isn't over. All this is common knowledge, but how many of us know that there was one particular heresy the Spanish Inquisition sought to uncover and destroy? There was a witch hunt against baptized Jews who maintained any vestige of Jewishness. These Catholic Jews, all right, in other words, called Maranos, Conversos, or New Christians, violently forced to convert in the first place, were carefully watched to see if they were practicing heresy. Heretical practices include failure to eat pork, failure to work on Saturday, failure to wear one's best clothes on Sunday, keeping the biblical feasts, observing any Jewish customs of any kind, saying any Jewish prayers, preparing food according to Jewish laws, associating with non-baptized Jews, and intermarriage of children of Marano families with children of other Marano families. All right, but we don't see anything referring to Sephardic. There's no reference to a Sephardic Jew. Let me see if I have something else to bring this point home. All right, let's see here. Let me see if I have another source here. I do have another source, but let me see if I can bring that up. Yeah, family, that rabbit hole goes pretty deep. All right, let me see here. Bear with me 1 second. All right. I know I've been going geek mode, family, on some foundational information, and just wanted to get back to the basics. We had a great time at Shabbat service. Been walking through the book of Genesis. We are on chapter 6 right now. Actually, we're about to close out chapter 6, and we've been dealing with Genesis for like a month and a half. All right. And we're just taking our time. We're slow walking through here. So let me see here real quick. Let me see if I can pull this source up here. All right. Bear with me 1 second. All right. Let me see here. I thought I had it. Let me close this down. All right. Bear with me 1 second here. All right. I'm trying to see if I can pull this source in. All right. I thought I could pull it here. All right. I can't. I'm not going to waste any time on that. I thought I could pull that up. All right. Okay. I thought I had it here, but I have another. Let's see here. I thought I'm not going to waste any time on that. I thought I could pull it, find my other PowerPoint. I'm not going to pull that in here. So as you can see here, family, you don't see any reference here to Sephardic, right? I just want to reiterate that point. You don't see any reference to the Sephardic inside this text, inside his book, especially when he was dealing with the Inquisition. You don't see any reference to the Sephardics. You see Maranos. And that's really the point that I really wanted to focus on. All right. So let me fix this here. All right. And this is what's also interesting is, let me pull this up here. I was trying to get something else here. What happened? Yeah, my computer is bear with me 1 second. Let me just do something real quick here. All right. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just doing something here. All right. I was just trying to see if I could find it. All right. All right. Anyway, sorry about that, family. So let's touch on a couple of things. I was just trying to get, see if I can get the source, but I couldn't find it. So when we really start, and you guys remember when I did this lesson titled Gog and Magog, and really trying to identify who's who. You guys remember this lesson, and I'll touch on this a little bit, and then we'll transition over to Candace Owens. And matter of fact, let me check one more spot. Let me see if I can check one more spot. This was another thing that I wanted to check because I was trying to find an image here, and you guys probably recognize this image from a particular movie, and it just caught my eyes the moment I saw it. Let me try one more area. I'm a little stubborn. I don't like to just give up. All right, let's see if this is what I'm looking for. I think I found it. All right, let me zoom in. Yeah. All right. It's not it. All right. I'm not going to waste my time on it. But remember this source here. This lesson that I did, trying to locate and identify who's Gog and Magog, who is the descendants of Japheth, key descendants of Japheth, who has always caused problems with the ancient Israelites. All right. And this is a lesson that I did a while back, identifying who's who. And family, this is why it's so imperative for us to really take the time out and really understand these names that are in Genesis chapter 10. It's very important for us to really understand heritage, understand identity. All right, who's who. Okay, so let's touch on this a little bit, and then we'll transition over to Candace Owens. All right, so what is the prophecy of Gog and Magog, and why is this important to identify who's who? Where are they today? This is important. Where are they today? Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 1 through 7. You guys know this passage. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, and the land of Magog, and the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against them. And say, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, and priest and chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. And all thine army, horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers, shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all of his bands, and many people with thee. So this is a very important prophecy, but the key is understanding these names. Now we know we're dealing with African nations here, but we also are dealing with Japheth. Let's identify some of these names. All right, it says here, be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So be thou prepared. All right, prepared, right? Qawam means to rise, abide, accomplish, be clear, confirm, continuance, decree, endure, get up, make good, perform, rear up, remain, stir up, strength, succeed, establish. All right. So a ruler named Gog will invade Israel. Who is Gog? Who is Magog? Who is Meshech? Some key names here. Who is Tubal? Let's start with locating Magog real quick. This is coming from the Eastern Bible Dictionary, published in 1894. Magog reign of Gog, the second son of sons of Japheth. So you see Magog, right? Magog, a region of Gog, and also the second son of Japheth, right? And you'll see this when you go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 2, First Chronicles chapter 1, verse 5. And here's some other references in Ezekiel. It is the name of a nation, probably some Scythian. That's the key right there. Scythian, make a note, or Tartar tribe, descended from Japheth. They are descended as skilled horsemen and expert in the use of the bow. All right. But here's the kicker here. Scythians or Scythian nations, fierce and innumerable, who live beyond the Caucasus and Lake Maeotis or Maeotis near the Caspian Sea and spread out even onward to India. All right, so it gives us some additional information here. All right. So Magog is the second son of Japheth. Let me say that again. Magog is the second son of Japheth. And let's confirm this with Genesis chapter 10. And we'll skip down to verse 2. The son of Japheth, Gomer. Look at here. The son of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog. And look at some of these names here. You see Tubal, you see Meshech. So Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Tyrus. So according to the Easton's Bible Dictionary, 1894, Magog is also connected to the Scythians. So who are the Scythians? All right, who are the Scythians? All right, or Scythians. This is coming from the Britannica Encyclopedia Online. It says Scythian or Scythian, also called Sith, makes me think of Star Wars. Saka, Seke, member of a nomadic people originally of Iranian stock, known from as early as the 9th century BCE, who migrated westward from Central Asia to southern Russia and Ukraine in the 8th and 7th century BCE. The Scythians or Scythians found a rich, powerful empire on what now is Crimea. So you see, these are Russian territories here. We see Russian territories. All right. Looks like I see someone here spamming. All right. All right. And again, shout outs to my brother, Berean Scholar. And I'll drop the link if you want to jump on as I go through this this presentation here. Let me see here. All right. All right. So who are the Scythians or Scythians? Who are this group of people? This is coming from localizing Ashkenazi Jews in primeval villages in the ancient Iranian lands of Ashkenaz. Look at what it says. An analysis of 393 Ashkenazic, Iranian, and Mountain Jews and over 600 non-Jewish genomes demonstrated that Greeks, Romans, Iranians, and Turks exhibit the highest genetic similarity with the Ashkenazi Jews. All right. Which is pretty interesting, right? It goes on to say the geographic population structure analysis localized most Ashkenazi Jews along with major primeval trade routes in northeast eastern Turkey adjacent to primeval villages with names that may be derived from Ashkenaz. Iranian and Mountain Jews were localized along trade routes on the Turkey eastern border. Loss of maternal haplogroups was evident in non-Yiddish speaking Ashkenazi Jews. our results suggest that Ashkenazi Jews originated from a Slavo-Iranian confederate or confederation, which the Jews called Ashkenazic, an example, Scythians or Scythians. You see that reference there. You see the name. So we see the connection here. Ashkenazis, the Scythians. All right. So real quick, let me go ahead and bring my brother in here. I see him in the back office here. I want to say shout outs to you, Berean Scholar.
Hey, shout out, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I saw some brother in the chat misunderstood what I was putting up there, how they tried to cover up who we were in that book. And I cited the book so he can read it for himself.
Okay.
You're right. You're right. The Maranos was said in that book that I cited from Jews and Moors in Portugal. They were dark-skinned and melanated people.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that that construct that they created called Sephardic, is just like Ashkenazi caused a lot of confusion, especially when you start dealing with the Spanish Inquisition and the way that history is taught. For the most part, many will automatically connect the Sephardics to those that were being persecuted, which that's the furthest from the truth, because at that time they were referred to as Maranos, right? So, but anyway, really appreciate it again, my brother, for you jumping on. Hope and pray you had a blessed Shabbat.
Had a great day, brother. Had a great day. That was a good word today.
Oh, appreciate it. I started to do that tonight, but I'm gonna let it sit over at We Woke Now extended for a little while. And
we still get over last night. You was on our toes last night.
Oh yeah. I went geek mode last night. I know that still has, that lesson still have to make its rounds to, some individuals to really understand just how deep the deception is.
Well, I needed to hear it. You're right. We were taught so we was like you said, we was in the God spellbound.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna touch on this a little bit more, but then we'll transition over to dealing with Candace Owens, because I really want to touch on her a little bit, because I believe she playing possum, and especially when it comes to her identity. And I'll play some videos to really prove my point, because she's been she's been going on a war path, man, and she's been giving them the business, man, as far as the 1948ers. She's really been giving them the business.
She's not pulling any punches. You're right.
None.
She's showing the hand.
None. And so I really want to touch on that. All right. Really want to touch on that. All right. So again, family, as you see the source here, the Jews, they are called Ashkenazic. In other words, you see the word Scythians, right? All right. And you see the connection here. Look at here. This is compatible with linguistic evidence suggesting that Yiddish is a Slavic language created by Turco-Slavic Jewish merchants along the Silk Roads as a cryptic trade language, spoken only by its originators. All right. But who are the Scythians? Who are these people? Let's go to the Ankle Bible Dictionary, Volume 1. Let's see what it says about Ashkenaz, because you'll see the connection here with the Scythians. Look at what it says here. Ashkenaz, first descendant of Gomer, who is the offspring of Japheth in the Table of Nations. In Jeremiah 51:27, Ashkenaz appears along with Ararat and many as a kingdom called upon to oppose Babylon. The name is identified as the Neo-Assyrian Ishkuza. And it goes on to say, who appeared between the Black and Caspian Seas in the 8th and 7th centuries BC, driving out the Cimmerians and threatening the Assyrians. For Herodias or Herodotus, however you want to pronounce it, These people came to be called the Scythians. So you see, the Scythians are connected to the Ashkenazis. All right. The correspondence of the consonants, and this is getting into more the linguistic here. The Ashkenaz is Kuza, and Scythians is obvious. Although the reason for the nun or the noon in the biblical name is not clear. So the noon, that's the Hebraic. I mean, not Hebraic. That's the Israeli pronunciation of the letter Nun. That's how it's pronounced in the ancient. And the Israeli is pronounced noon. All right. But nevertheless, the use of a prosthetic aleph in the seam forms may suggest an initial consonant cluster in the name, which was unacceptable to seem. All right. But it goes on and gives us some additional information. It says present archaeological evidence for a distinctive Scythian culture begins in the 7th century BC. All right. And we see some additional information here. Possibly portrayals of Scythians appears on the 9th century reliefs of Ashurnasirpal, excuse me for butchering it tonight. I'm tongue-tied tonight. All right. So, but the first Neo-Assyrians mention of Ishkuza occurs during the time of Sargon II in the 8th century BC. But the key here, the Scythians were able to push south to dominate Asia, right? So you see the different references here. We see here a Scythian raid against Egypt was stopped by Psammetichus the first. Then we see for the later history of the Scythians and the question of their identification with the enemy from the north mentioned in the first part of Jeremiah. So according to the Anchor Bible Dictionary, the Scythians are these descendants of Ashkenaz. They're connected. They're pretty much the same people. And so when we go to the Anchor Bible Dictionary, volume 5, about the Scythians, look at what it says. It confirms this. Biblical scholars sometimes associate the Scythians with Ashkenaz, in which the bringers of destruction in the prophecies of Jeremiah and Zephaniah outside the Hebrew Bible, their reputation for savagery is alluded to in 2 Maccabees 4:47, 3 Maccabees 7:5. You know, you guys get it. All right. So the Scythians, also called Ashguze or Askuzi, however you want to pronounce it, by the Assyrians, apparently first appeared in written history in the annals of Esarhaddon, and seemed to be centered at the time in what is today northwest Iran. All right, so you guys get the gist of it, family. I'm not going to read all of this, but you see the connection with the Scythians and the Ashkenazis, also tying into Gog. All right, so that's the point that I wanted to make here. And you also see the reference to Crimea as well. That's still dealing with that Russia-Ukraine territory. Okay, Scythian life in the 1st century AD. So these are references to this people here. So the Scythians occupy what is called modern day Russia and Ukraine. And this is the reference that I mentioned here about us being a byword, a proverb. But I don't want to get into all this. Let me fast forward past this. All right, because I was really focusing on something else. All right. All right. All right. Do I have here? Yeah, let's skip down to the Khazars, right? Because the Khazars, all right, the connection between the Ashkenazis, the Scythians, Russia, the Khazarians have that connection, right? Let's see here. And this is coming from the Jewish Encyclopedia. As you see, Khazars, a people of Turkish origins whose life and history are interwoven with the very beginning of the history of the Jews of Russia. All right. And this is just giving you some additional information on here, even how to pronounce the different pronunciations of the name. All right. So let me see here. This source here is a professor who tracked his history all the way back to the Khazarians. So that's what this source is dealing with here. Not going to deal with that here just for the sake of time. Let me see here. All right, I want to get to you see here the Jutes, and the key with the Jutes, you have what is called the Scythian Jutes, which connects to the Jutes, and this is where you also would see the Norman or the Northmen. Those are the Vikings. That's why you see the picture of what's his name from the Vikings. I can't think of his name now, but I'm running my brain dead. All right, but this is the image of the Vikings here. All right, and he's the son of Ragnar, right? Bjorn, right? So this is where you start understanding the Jutes, right? You have the Jots, the Jutes, and you'll see the term Scythian, and that's connected to the Vikings. So that's still, as we pointed out, connected to the Khazars, Turkish people. I mean, you see how all of this is connected. You see how all of this is connected. I know some of you guys are probably wondering, like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me the Ashkanazis are connected to the Vikings? Absolutely. Right. And this is a key name here. This is, a lesson that I did this lesson, first did this lesson like 11 years ago when I was dealing with the language, because many of us are just focused on the archaeology when we're trying to identify who's who, but not really going to the languages. And so I was using the languages to identify who's who. So here you have what is called the Jutes. And before I continue, anything you want to point out, my brother?
Oh, I'm falling behind you because you started that the Vikings and that thing. I was remember the lesson you did like a year ago. You went through the language tree. I'll try to find my notes on that. Yeah, and you see that a lot of people that you didn't think was Caucasians are Caucasians. I did not know. I mean, that was the first time I've seen that information. Yeah, and that's I think you remember you making reference to the Proto-Indo-European tree. Yes. Of languages that are used, and I may pull it out if we have time, and I could show the people that that just knowing the tree of languages will expose and reveal a lot. So this is the interesting thing. When I was doing my research, just my studies and all, over 10 years ago, is when I came across the Jutes. Now, what does that name sound like? We see the word Jutes. That sounds like Jew, right? Yep. You have Jutes and you have the word Jutish. Is that a coincidence that you have the word Jew and Jewish? And what many don't understand, that word Jew is a word that evolved in the English language, right? Old English. It was spelled G-Y-U, if I remember correctly. And, and then we see it all the way up to now, G-E-W-S, but then we can see the connection with the word Jutes, right? And look here, when we go to Jutes, it says here, one of the ancient Germanic inhabitants between it says here, of Jutland, the peninsula between the modern Germany and Denmark, who with the Angles and Saxons invaded Britain. And this is what stood out for me, right? Studying about the Angles and the Saxons, they, you never hear the Jutes. Have you ever heard of the Jutes when referring to the Anglos and the Saxons? Never mentioned this Anglo-Saxon War when you come about the British, the beginning of Britain and all that. But never
when they invaded, when the Anglos and Saxons.
Never mentioned the Jutes.
Yeah, you never heard them mention. I'm like, wait a minute, I never heard of the Jutes. And the Jutes was a dominant group within Germany. So that's what's interesting. You see Jute, then it says the name is related to Old Norse Eotar, related to Jutish, which is interesting, right? You have Jute and Jutish. So is there a coincidence that Jutish or Jute and Jutish sound like Jew and Jewish? This is all part of their language, the Proto-Indo-European language, which one of the trunks that comes out of it is the Germanic language. And within that Germanic language, this is where we get into the Norse language when we start getting into the English language, because the English language is part of the Proto-Germanic tree of languages, which breaks up into 2 additional trunks. So English is a Germanic language, right? And this is when you start getting into the Norse religion. It's heavily saturated with the Norse religion. So there's no coincidence that Jew and Jewish sounds like Jute and Jutish. So who are the Jutes? This is coming from Antiquity of Jot race. This is a great source, family. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things just so that way we can make the connection between the Vikings, because I did mention the Vikings. And I know when I first did this teaching a while back, I remember in the assembly, because a lot of these teachers I actually have done it internally first, right? For years. It's certain teachers I haven't even taught online. I keep it internal, excuse me. So this source right here, it connects the Vikings to the Scythians. And we know what the Vikings are known for. We know what the Khazarians are known for. We know what the Turkish people are known for. All of them are known for what? Invasions. Hijacking identity. So page 12 and 13. This fact is further proved by their parallel bravery, because Jutes were the first conquerors of Britain, even when later on Saxons invaded the shore of Southampton waters. They could not succeed without reinforcement by a body of Jutes who formed settlements of their own in the Isle of Wight and on the mainland. The historical material of those times is so meager that some historians confuse Saxons with Jutes as belonging to the same race. Although not only the race was different, but even the territory where they lived was quite separate. Jutes were Scythian Jots. You see the word Scythian, right? All right, you see that, family? You see Scythian. When we went through the definition of Ashkenazi, when we went through the definition of Magog, it pointed to the Scythians. That was the glue. So now we see the Scythians connecting the Jutes, right, to the Norsemen. And the Norsemen, or the Northmen, are referring to the Vikings. And let me show you here. So the Jutes are Scythian Jots. So are the Jutes really Scythians? Yeah, family. Let's prove it here. Look at here. Danes, Vikings, and Normans, H.G. Wells, in the Outline of History, chapter 32, section 4, says that they were very small racial and social differences between the Anglo-Saxon, Jutes, Dane, or Norman. As mentioned at number 4 above, he has confused Angles and Saxons who belong to the Teutonic race with Jutes, Danes, and Normans who belong to Scythian race. And this still tying back to Khazaria. The fact that they were allies in their raids upon Britain is not enough for their racial confusion. Vikings were called Northmen because they lived in the north, while Angles and Saxons lived in the south. Northmen ultimately were abbreviated into Norman or Normans. So are the Jutes, who are Scythian Jots, really connected to the Vikings? Yeah, family. Yeah, family. Look at this. In 912, An expedition of these Normans under the Rolf the Granger established itself upon the coast of France in the region that was known henceforth as Normandy. In other words, North Mandy. There was a fresh conquest of England by the Danes and the Norman dukes of Normandy, became king of England. But here's the kicker here. Here's the kicker. Here I am concerned only with the fact that Danes, Vikings, or Normans were all Jutes. They were all different names under the same race of Scythian Jats or Scythian Jots. Any thoughts, my brother?
I'm going along with you. If you go and challenge in chat the same thing and just verify everything you're saying. Everything you're saying.
And see, look at this right here, family. Juchi, right? Notice the word Uchi sounds similar to what?
Like
the Jutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Uchi. This is a word by which Chinese knew the Jats, right? So the Chinese called them Uchi. And look at this here. These Uchi conquered the slightly Hellenized kingdoms of Bactria. What a name, right? It mixed with Aryan people there. Later on, these Uchi became or were merged with Aryan elements into a people called the Indo-Scythians.
Indo-Scythian.
Pretty interesting, right? Pretty interesting. Look at this. Wiping out the last vestiges of Hellenic rule in India. This big splash over the Mongolian races westward was probably not the first of such splashes, but it is the first recorded splash. All right. Real quick, Meshech, looking at the time here because I want to put some time in Candace Owens. But look at this here. Who is Meshech? And you know, going back to the Vikings family, and what really triggered me to learning more about the Vikings, the culture, the languages, and that's what really got me going down the path of studying the English language thoroughly, really the Germanic languages, you know, taking a few classes on it far as from a linguistic perspective. And that's how I learned about that tree, right? And so what's interesting is we get into the Norse. And when we start dealing with the dragon that I believe Revelation 13 talks about, think about the image, the symbol of the Vikings, right? Because that dragon comes out of the water. And what is the Vikings known for? And when we think about the Gentiles, right? Or not the Gentiles, when we think about Japheth, right? His descendants, or he took on the territories by what? The islands by the water. That's pretty much what Isle of the Gentiles simply means. The nations that live near the water. So when you think about the dragon, right, that's on the ship of the Vikings. And when you start thinking about their influence, as far as the Norse influence on what? Even the language, what we speak right now. Monday, Tuesday, right? Right? That's dealing with the Norse. Heavily influenced. Go ahead, my brother.
You like you said, everyone named after northern deity.
Yeah. And even when you say the term God is really the Norse. And when you start getting into not just the Norse, but that Germanic language, but starting with the Norse, God is actually Gott, G-O-T-T.
Yep.
And the plurality is called Gatter. And the term that you see that is used for is where you see Gatter Damarung. Damarung is a place for dead gods or deities in the Norse religion. So Gott and Gatter Damarung. And the slang, you guys heard it before. You hear GD. I'm not going to say it, but GD comes from that place of, or that phrase, or that Norse term, Gater Dam Marung.
The eastern part of North Carolina is Gatomidi. They try to change it.
Yeah,
it's still from the same origin.
Yeah. And matter of fact, I see Sister Carol in the building. I'm going to drop the link, sis, if you want to jump on. All right. It's inside the chat. All right. So Meshech. We see Meshech inside there, right? Who is Meshech? Now, family, some of you guys may be surprised. For those that have not watched some of my presentations in the past, especially when I did the presentation on the son of perdition, right? My old friends back in the day, they would say, man, if I had false teeth, they would have fell out my mouth. You know what I mean? Because of what that thing being so good. Right. So that's what some of the comments I had on the presentation, that it was really informative. You know, I even had emails being sent from Catholics in South America stating that they never knew this information before. Gave them a whole different perspective on the prophecies.
Wow, that's awesome.
All right, I'm gonna bring in Sister Carol here before we continue. Let's see here. Sister Carol in the building.
Hey, my bro.
How's it going, sis? You know, going a little geek mode tonight.
I see you talking about your favorite subject.
Oh, you know me, I go geeky about this stuff, right?
I know. It's not your first time talking about this little people.
Yeah. You know, so I had to do a little, you know, pull this out of the milk crates. Because we was dealing with a video. Was it you that forwarded this that video to me, Berean Scholar?
Which one?
The one with the guy saying that the Borgia. I can't remember the Borgia tied connected to, in a nutshell, the what is it? The Silva. The name's the Silva family, and saying how he's that Silva is a known name under the Sephardic Jews, which also is a name connected to the Khazarians.
Yeah,
and that image of Cesare Borgia, just Cesare Borgia, basically in a nutshell, is a Khazarian.
When you said that, I was like, okay, he connected him to Khazarian.
You know, so let's play the clip again for those that may have jumped in late. We'll play the clip here real quick, and we'll touch on a couple more things. We'll define Meshech and Tubal real quick, and then we'll transition over to Candace Owens. All right, let's see here.
Yes, the Last Supper took place in the Gospels, but according to Leonardo da Vinci, he had painted 12 individuals who were not the apostles. The woman in the middle, as we talked about last time, is Julia Farnese with a G. On her right is her daughter, Laura Farnese, we're thinking that's John, the Apostle St. John. The rest of the so-called apostles are those of the Medicis, Orsini's, Colonels, and the Farnese dynasties who were let out of the Roman prison-industrial complex. We've been lied to. In this picture that we've been taught was Christ from the chest up, with long hair with a brown and beige background going like this. That's not Christ. That's Cesare Borgia. But that's not their real last name. We go back into history. I thank God for my staff. They trace the bloodline of the Borgias. Their real name is Silva. It's not Borgia. I-L-V-A, which is a Spanish Sephardic name. What does it mean? Silva, it is a Khazarian name. It's a Khazarian name. And again, to our Israeli brothers and sisters, they are Israelis, but they're not Israelites. So the Borgias are of Sephardic Spanish Khazarian blood. Christ has nothing to do with it. Christ was a Hebrew. Christ was a Yehudi, but not a Sephardic. And I got to tell you, when we're going to come back to the bloodline of the Borgias.
All right. So that's what kind of I decided to use that video to kind of as a discussion for this for tonight.
Yeah, the thing that you said about him connecting. Now I knew the Cesare Borgia and his connection with the painting and how they used it as the painting that we call Yahushua, but the connection with the Khazarian, I didn't hear that before.
Yeah, that was the first right there. I'm pretty on top of it. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, now I knew about the the lie about this Sephardic name and all that. I know that that's fake, but I just didn't even think about connecting Cesare Borgia to the Sephardic, which ultimately to the Khazarians.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I think I said is because we have to verify everything we see, because like I was like when you was talking about finding a book that was mentioned about the Sephardic or the Maranos, the gatekeepers take names that was used in that day that did mean the brown skinned dark Jews. They added that other slur later on, just like they took what they called us in Acts 13. Nigger means a different thing then, but that been changed too. So again, when you put so much information, people can't handle it. I guess I should have put that one out there.
Yeah, and that's what really got me too, is that when you do a lot of research and you hear this term Sephardic, but then when you go to those old sources, you don't even see the word Sephardic.
Exactly.
Especially when you go to like the 16th, 17th century, you'll see Maranos. Right. And when I did the lesson on what's her name, Emily Bassano, who is known as Shakespeare's Dark Lady. Right. She was a Moor and also referred to as Maranos. Right. And her whole family was from Italy. They lived in the Italy territories, and they were all were Hebrews. They were Israelites. Those are some of the history that we don't hear about. But she's an Israelite. Her entire family was a gifted group of musicians and poets. So yeah.
We have to doc that when you mention these sources. Like I said, I went back and brought up the book, The Jews and Moors in Spain, and I forgot what year it was published. But those books gives us insight that when you look at on Google ain't gonna give you that. Sometimes you got to cite these sources. And it's okay, you're right. That's what they were, because the gatekeeper changed what we see out there on today's information.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Correct.
All right, so let's delve into Meshech real quick. Let's identify Meshech real quick, and we'll transition over to Candace Owens because I want to put some time into that discussion. So who is Meshech? And family, we'll do another lesson here, kind of like a refresher for those that start watching, like new subscribers to We Woke Now. We'll revisit some of this to kind of bring you up to speed here. So who is Meshech? Real quick, and I want to tell you guys, this is now getting into Russian territories like Moscow. All right, so real quick. All right, Meshech. Oxford Bible Church, UK, regarding Meshech and Tubal, some assign a Russian identification connecting these two nations with the modern Russian cities of Moscow and Tobolsk. Meshech, Moscow, and Tubal, Tobolsk. The first view became well known through the Scofield Bible, study Bible, that the primary reference is to the northern powers headed by Russia. All agree that the reference to Meshech and Tubal, in other words, Moscow and Tobolsk, is a clear mark of identification. Thus, the name Moscow derived from the tribal name Meshech and Tobolsk, the name of the principal state from Tubal. This view is partly based on the similarity of sound in these names in their close proximity to Rosh, in other words, Russia, and that's also a Hebrew letter. In the ancient is Ra'ash, and the Israeli is Rosh. All right. If this is so, the names Meshech and Tubal point directly to Russia, being identified with Moscow, the capital of modern Russia. All right, but let's fast forward here. Let's see here. All right, we see here the Japhethites migrated from Asia Minor to the north beyond the Caspian and Black Sea. They settled in the area of Rosh, which is Russia, that we know today as Russia. All right, so you see the connection here, and it goes on to say, look at here, Gog is undoubtedly the Russians.
Rosh Hashanah.
And so these are some additional information here. Meshech as Moscow, Tubal identified as Tobolsk, the earliest province of Asiatic Russia to be colonized. All right. You know, who dwelt in the Moschtian mountains. He went on to say that the Greek name Moschti is derived from the Hebrew Meshech. All right, so this is giving some additional information. And then you'll see another source, Testament of the Grand Princes of Moscow, page 274. And you'll see the connection here. Mishera, let's see here, Phino-Ugaritic tribe. Let me see, amalgamated with Bashkirs. But it says here, have either been Russified or have amalgamated with Bashkirs. Where's where I was looking for? I thought I had it in there. I think I took it. I didn't have the other here, but it's still tying it into Moscow. But anyway. And then when we go to the Eastern Bible Dictionary, this is confirming Moschti as we just highlighted in the previous source. And we're still dealing with, look at here, mingling with who?
Same people.
Same people.
Same people.
That's the point. Mingling with Scythians family. All right. It's ancient city, ancient capital by which they are still generally known throughout the East. All right. Let's see. I'm not going to get into all that. I think we'll just stop right there, family. But I want to transition over to Candace Owens. And I'll play a couple of videos. But before I do that, the thought that I want to focus on, let me just take this home. All right. Is Candace Owens, just my thoughts. I believe Candace Owens is playing possum when it comes to her identity. Because I decided, I was thinking about this already. And some of the videos that she's done, and she's really been on a tear going in on the 1948ers. She's been on a tear. I mean, man, I know they probably like, man, who got her started? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. She's been on a tear with the things that she's been saying, things that she's been calling out. I mean, I didn't get a chance to pull some clips over from her latest interview that she did with Tucker Carlson, but she's going in on the 1948ers. Now, I want to make this clear. I want to make sure that we kind of preface this by saying that we are not Candace Owens apologists, right? I'm one of those. I am an opportunist. What I mean by that, any of these people that is furthering our cause, I'm going to, with truth, I'm going to play some of that information because she, along with Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, Whoopi Goldberg, remember that, Sister Carol? That was like the perfect storm.
Yep.
It was like Whoopi Goldberg one year, and then the following year, Whoopi Goldberg again, and then that kind of connected right into Kyrie Irving, and then Kanye West. That was like the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I rode that wave like I would say to Moxie, ride the wave till it becomes a puddle.
Right.
And I even have a video called Broke Clock, right?
Exactly.
Referred to as the Broke Clock, because, hey, got to give her the props. She's right on dealing with the 1948ers. You can't take it away from that. Even with this whole thing that's going down with, that's happening over in France with the leaders there. She's just been going in. You know what I mean? So let me pull up a couple of clips, family, and just so that way you guys can get an idea of some of the things that she said. Now, you guys remember this famous clip right here with her and Rabbi Shmuley. I'll play it real quick.
And here's what I would like to say to you, Rabbi, since you're quoting scripture, okay? The one that's relevant to me is, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. And if you'd like to dive into a little more scripture, I think what's relevant is Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie.
Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie.
And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley.
And I'm speaking directly to
Man, she gave him a 3-piece. I forgot the other punch. Here it goes. And she gave him his order to go. She beat him down so bad that the Daily Wire, the guy by the name of Shapiro, was supposed to debate her and pulled out. She gave him, as far as Rabbi Shmuley and Rabbi Barkley, the business.
Tore them both up.
I mean, and she chewed Piers Morgan out about a week and a half ago. Gave him the business. So
you're so right. She has said some things in the past I don't like, I don't agree with, but y'all used a donkey in numbers to speak. So she's saying right now is waking people up to say, hey, those people are not the people.
Exactly. And she's been going further and further with that, because she did the series that I highlighted a year ago. She was going in about the Frankists. And this is one thing that really stood out for me, right? Because she is thorough with her research. But this one clip right here a year ago sat in the back of my mind. It's like, all right, I'm gonna remember what she said here, and I may touch on this in the future. But this is what really stood out for me when she was talking about Kyrie Irving, and she was referencing Ron Dalton's movie Hebrews to Negroes. And you guys remember the whole fiasco with that, of how they made this thing into more than what it is because of Kyrie Irving posting or sharing the video or whatever on his Twitter page or whatever. And this is what she had to say during a year ago, and this is what really stood out. Here it is.
And of course, because of the way my brain works, when I see the media overreact, I just go, what's in this documentary? I mean, I think that's called the Streisand effect. Like when you go so crazy about something that people wouldn't have noticed, then suddenly go, okay, well, what am I not supposed to see in this documentary? And I, of course, instantly watched it. And it was, by the way, very poorly put together, which is why it made it even crazier. It seems like a very budget film that was put together. It looks almost like a PowerPoint, to be honest. And I remember watching this going, how could this documentary have caused this much craziness in the media? And then I realized that the point of the documentary that it was making that upset, and this is why the ADL got involved, was the documentary makers, that is, were alleging that the current Jewish people that are in Israel are not, in fact, biblical Jews, and instead that the people that were brought over in the transatlantic slave trade from Africa to America were the original Hebrews, okay? So parking aside whether or not you agree with that, I have obviously no idea. How strange is it that that would cause that sort of a reaction? I mean, we live in a time where a man can say he's a woman and a woman can say that she's a man. You can quite literally wake up and pick your gender and pick your species, and people will be affectionate towards you. They feel so bad for you. They have sympathy. It's like we must do more to support these communities. They're not confused as who they are on the inside. But for Kyrie Irving, there was no grace. It was like, no, this is so wrong, and you're going to lose your entire life for even exploring that idea. What it led me to think was, it is quite sad when you consider that so many of us have no idea where we come from. Like, that to me was the bigger point, that there are so many people on this planet who have no idea where they come from. I'm one of them. I can't go back beyond a couple of generations.
All right, so that stood out to me. And when she talked about, when she made mention that she has no clue about the who's who, so to speak, her laugh that she gave. And, you know, when you hear that type of laugh, it's almost like someone saying, you know, if I was guilty, would I do this? That, you know, when I listened to that laugh, it was timely. I was like, okay. When I played it over again, it was like, yeah, you know, I really don't know. I have no idea. Wait a minute, you thoroughly went in bringing up Francis, and she brought up a source, and I've been going hard on the 1948ers. You guys know, since I had this channel, I've been really going in on them. She brought up a source that I did not come across. So, and even her series that she did on the Macrons, I'm convinced that she is playing Possum because of her situation. What do you guys think?
You talking about her family situation?
Yeah, because of who she's married to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and of course, if she says certain things, and you know, if they may try to do her like Kanye West, but at the same time, I think she's doing more damage to them, making people really pay attention to what they got going on than what Kanye West did.
Correct. And she is. She's a far greater reach than he does. And people listen to her intelligently.
Mm-hmm.
They don't listen to Kanye intelligently. They listen to her because of how she convey her information over to people. So it makes you pause.
Yeah.
And think and go find out. So yes, that information that she dropped about the transatlantic slave from Africa, she knows.
You know what I mean? She has to know.
Of course she knows.
With the stuff she's been saying. And then lately, let me play a couple of clips of what she's saying. She has said over the past couple of weeks, actually just this past week. You know what I mean? I'm like, she is just going in. But it's like, when you're going to take that dive, totally submerge. But listen to some of these clips that she said. I'm not going to play them all at once, but I'll play a couple of them here. Let's see here. Where's the let's start with the Khazars, since that's a short clip, and then we'll play a couple other clips here about changing their identities.
The Canaanites were a brutal and a wicked culture. They frequently engaged in behavior that was considered obviously immoral and decadent, right? A list of the sins that Israel was told to avoid at all costs. Those sins included, the Canaanites partook in incest, in child sacrifice, in homosexuality, and in bestiality. Now, in your mind, you're going, okay, that sounds familiar. We spoke about this as well when I was telling you guys about the Khazarian kingdom. And I think somebody asked a question yesterday, like, oh, do you know about the Khazars? And I had mentioned to you that, yes, I'm very aware, by the way, because I think that is what was mentioned also in that documentary that Kyrie Irving shared, was that for a period of time, a lot of Israeli historians were writing books and receiving awards for having traced their lineage to the Khazars. A very similar story with that kingdom before it was crushed by Russia and Persia. Very similar story with that kingdom.
All right, so you caught that, right? So she is very thorough.
Mm-hmm.
And she says she watched Ron Dalton's documentary. So just from what I observed, she seemed to be the type of, she's watching something, she's going to be pausing it because it take a while to get through it, because she's going to pause it, let me check that source. Pause it, let me check that source. And I think all of us on this panel approach that the same way. It's like, wait a minute, if I'm listening to a documentary, they mention the source or they mention something, I'm pausing because it may take me a while to get through it because I want to vet the sources.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's go ahead.
Go ahead.
So that's the same way we got here. We heard something that we was researching, and I'm going back and read it myself. And I think it's the same video you was talking about. She mentioned Abraham, what's the writer name who first came up against with the Khazar apostle effect. Abraham Solely. She mentioned his book, and I know that that Yazi is talking to her about it too. So
yeah. Any comments, sis?
All right, I agree. I do believe. This is what I believe she's doing. I think she's vetting this information with her husband because of his wealth of information that he can bring to her. So I'm thinking that she's doing all this research with him, and she's being very cautionary of what she presents out in public because she knows how powerful these people are. But she has the information. She has the books.
Absolutely.
The same books you have, which is their information.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if she watched some. If
Yes,
not
that
her,
part.
some of her people watched
this video,
some of the
your
videos, because I done watched some of her stuff. I'm like, her stuff is falling, going in the same sequence of some of me presenting, some of the videos that I presented, the information out of. But yeah,
totally. But she has the arsenal of information, which is why she stands so proudly when she talks. You can tell a person who has an arsenal of information on how they project themselves. And she's not afraid to stand and project it.
like you could tell when the person got the big joker.
Yeah, you go. That part.
Playing spade. Yeah.
Right.
When you see who got the big joker, they got their
show your hand. Show your hand.
They know that they got their books. Like, I got the big joker, the little joker, and I got the ace. You know what I mean?
That's right. And I'm playing Uno with you. I got all these reverse cards in my arsenal.
Yeah. So you can So keep this out. So this is another video that she did. This is a video that she did last week. No, the week before last. And she made reference to the 1948ers not being the chosen. And, I mean, and she's been going deeper since that Rabbi Shmuley.
Yeah, oh yeah.
This past, I want to say, few weeks, she really just took the gloves off. Now here's her reference of them not being the chosen.
At this moment in time, at this moment in history, who God's chosen actually are. And it ain't the Polish Bibi Netanyahu. If there's ever been to me any person that I would say most clearly represents the synagogue of Satan, it would be that man and maybe Rabbi Shmuley.
All right, let me play another one. I messed that one up for us, the length of it, but you get the gist of it. So let me play what she just did a couple of days ago. Listen to what she says about the Macrons, but she also ties this into Epstein in the full video, as well as the 1948ers. Here it is. This clip is about a minute and a half. Here it is.
So he's saying a lot there. He's talking about a lot of political scandals that have happened recently in France. It all seems to be bubbling towards the surface, and he's calling out these people. What I found to be really interesting about that post is his, first and foremost allegations that they're operating under false identities, and that their claim is that they're protecting their families, dating back to things that took place between 1939 and 1945. That's a very specific timeline. It makes me think about the Epstein case and us going into who the Maxwells were, and my suspicion that a lot of these people laundered their names. As I've said, they've laundered their names following World War II. I don't think because they were the good guys. I don't think because they were doing the right thing. I think because they were in power and have maintained a lot of their power. And so it's very interesting that he's making this allegation, and he's saying that a lot of stuff has been happening in the north of France. And like I said, it all seems to be bubbling to the surface. It's just fascinating. There are just so many players that are involved. And I think this is why there is mass panic, because the entire world is paying attention to what's happening in France. The entire world is paying attention to what's happening with Epstein. And these people are depraved and they are demented. And they, I think, have always been the bad guys throughout history and have seemingly gotten away with it by changing their names and changing their identities.
Wow.
Man, did she hit him hard or what?
Wow.
And changing their identities.
She hit them hard. And I want to say this to someone making a comment in the chat about be careful about her. Let me say this, again, this is why I prefaced this by saying before we got into it that we don't support the things that she said about our community in terms of George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter, even though we know that the Black Lives Matter, those people that ran that thing did some foul stuff with misuse of the money. But I'm not going to get into all of that. Breonna Taylor, and what's the lady in Ohio that got shot almost a year ago by the police officer, saying that she threw a pot of hot water at him, shot her in her own home. Can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name either. I know you're talking about.
So you could go in the channel, you'll see those videos up of me going in on those things. But at the same time, when truth is out there, truth is the truth. This is not us. All of a sudden, she's going to be chilling at our homes. That's not going to happen, right? I just can't see it happening. She's not going to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, you guys want to come over to my house in Tennessee?" That's not going to happen. But where I'm going at with this is the fact of the matter is, we can't be selective when it comes to this. If we can go into these sources that tell us that we are the people of the book, do you know many of those old sources from like the 16th, the 17th, the 18th century, most of those guys are racist.
Yeah.
Most of those guys can't stand us, but because of how they recorded their works, we are able to go to that and say, look at what this person pointed out here. And what do we do? I have it in many of my presentations. So far as all that other stuff, and unfortunately, let me say this one last point. If you go back and watch the video with her and Rabbi Barkley, the video I put up a couple of weeks ago was saying that she debated two rabbis. Notice what you don't see these rabbis doing that you see our community tends to go way overboard with. When Rabbi Barkley, when Candace Owens said to him, "You're not going to tell me how I should respond, and based upon how I respond, I'm anti-Semitic because this person been harassing me for 2 years, and now you're going to tell me I can't call him, for example, his daughter a hag, because all of a sudden hag is anti-Semitic. She can't call him a crooked rabbi because, hey, you know what? He's a, as Barclay said, he's a good whatever, educate, whatever the terms that he used. So he still went down, willing to go down in the ship with them. He even brought up he has 9 kids, but she stood on her like we say, her triangle, so to speak. She stood her stance, stood her ground against him. But he defended Rabbi Shmuley. Dr. Brown, best buddies with Rabbi Shmuley. But what I see about Candace Owens, and I'll talk to you about this, Sister Carol offline, you got groups out here. Got one group, I had it in the video clip, but I took it down so I can, redo the video, because some was taking it as if it was me saying that I hope Candace Owens lose everything. So I took it down because some people posted in there misunderstanding, like, no, I wasn't saying that this person was going overboard. So I didn't really put context there. So I took it down. But you got this brother called saying, I hope she lose everything. She can't be talking about, and guess who he started defending? The Macrons. It's another comedian that got a channel saying that she's not invited back to the cookout and want to kind of, talk about the fences that she straddled, and he's straddling the same fences too. We tend to go overboard. For me, I look at the scriptures. If the disciples accepted Apostle Paul, because remember, Apostle Paul, he did far worse. He was killing his own brothers and sisters.
He had license to kill.
He said that he had an acquired taste because he said he could taste it in his nostrils. And what happened? Of course, they kept their eyes open on him, but they forgave him.
Good point.
They still had their eyes open on him. Most definitely. Not saying we're not going to keep our eyes open, but I am not going to get into all this other stuff that many of us continue to do. When I post certain videos of, oh, she got this, she got this, she got this. Okay, what about you? What's in your closet? Not in your wallet. What's in your closet? All right. So the information is pushing our plight. This discussion that we've been talking about, when I said this awakening has been talking about, we've been discussing this for years. And now all what we've been discussing is on the level that it's on. Come on now. None of us thought or anticipated on her bringing up Revelation 2:9. None of us anticipated that.
Dude, that was a shock.
She starts sounding like she in the community. She even made a reference saying that she's awakened now. Basically saying that she woke. But not in the context that, that it's gotten taken out of. So that's why I just want to make sure that we are putting things in this proper perspective, making sure that we're not going overboard here. Any comments, guys?
Add to what you were saying, Pastor. It is important. We know who what she's done in the past and know who she is. But like you said, she is a researcher, and she has a platform that she is saying things that can promote people to think themselves. I didn't get awakened to somebody said something that made me think that the way I was going, the way I was thinking before was wrong. So she's challenged people who's sitting in church today who think that those people over there are the chosen people, and she's challenging them with facts. The name I was looking for earlier was Abraham Bolick. She said that how can this person who is an Israelite, who is an Israeli, write a book and get a prize on saying that they are Khazars? Then now you're going to turn around and say he's anti-Semitic. She brought that point up, and she cited his book and when it was published. So she's telling people information they can go out and research for themselves. So that is a plus for us. That is a plus for our people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sister Carol, any comments?
Hey, I concur with everything you're saying. Totally. Truth is truth, no matter whoever says it. And she has the platform to do it. She has the outreach to do it, and she has a backing of a resource to do it with. And I think what's happening is, as I stated earlier, I think she's being cautioned by her husband and whoever else is in her production, because these people are very powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we have to remember
I
they're
concur
powerful.
on that. I concur. Yeah, you hit that right on the nail. And I want to play one more video, family, of her. Listen to what she said here. She went in. I mean, she sounded like she is sitting in on some of our classes on this one. Listen to this right here.
I mean, you now have the patriarchs and the heads of the churches in Jerusalem who are issuing statements about what's happening. The settlers, the absolute gremlins and goblins who go in and are taking over territory. Nope, not paying for it, not by just taking over people's territory, burning their crops, killing their animals, killing their livestock to make it so that it's unlivable. And just going, we're going to take it, it's ours. Gremlins, goblins, literally, that's what you are. You see these people, they are just the most despicable, debased individuals you could ever imagine. And to do this under the context of Holy Land, like we are chosen by whom? Satan? That's the only thing that makes sense. You have to be chosen by Satan to be doing what you're doing. And then to look at us and go, we're the victims.
Man, did she slam him or what?
Yeah.
By whom? Satan?
Satan.
I mean,
taking off the gloves.
She hit them hard.
I like that.
And she's also good friends with Judge Joe Brown now too.
Yeah.
So he's giving her also information. So, and telling her where she can walk, stand, and touch as she walks through all this stuff.
Yeah. Pastor, to your point, I just thought about this. Candace started this, but there's a lot of other progressive people who I don't necessarily agree with everything they're saying, but they're coming out saying the same thing.
Exactly.
Yes. Exactly.
She started it.
Yes. Because they feel safe to do it now.
And I forgot she was on one of his talk show sitting and talking with me, and then he was coming out. How can you say that these people are somebody we need to support?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tucker Carlson. She got Tucker Carlson listening to her, and he's saying the same thing as she's saying.
Oh man, that I was like, man. Remember Tucker Carlson interviewed Kanye, and then he started mocking Kanye.
Yep.
You know, especially when he was dealing with saying that we are the people of the book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he mocked him, but now he's like, he even defending her, like, "Hey, Candace Owens is a nice young lady. I know her." You know, he's really defending her.
Yep, he is,
and agreeing with even the things she said about Bridget Macron.
Correct. I'm just waiting for the day when I turn on the TV and CNN is saying it, that we are the people. I keep envisioning that to happen. My spirit keeps telling me that's going to happen, and that it's going to be on worldwide information on all networks. That's going to happen. But it has to start with some drum major out there to get the mantra going.
Yeah. Well, I think that these people are now making people question the status quo and question the lies and the falsehood they've been taught about who's who.
Exactly.
And then they're gonna say, well, if they're not the people, who is the people?
Right. And see, the thing is now, just think about how long they've kept this diabolical plan going. Think the centuries that they have poured into this, documenting their own information for their own people, their own children to continue the same diabolical information. But now it's flipped. It started flipping by 2015, and where more exposure started coming at them, and more and more and more. Now it's a mantra, it's an algorithm of everybody speaking. It was started with us speaking it, and then now it has blossomed into other avenues where other people are talking on national TV and on podcasts, which is where the Most High wants it to go. He wants it to go worldwide.
Yep.
How it's going to get worldwide until that mantra start happening, till the algorithm start happening.
All praises to the Most High.
To the Gentiles have been fulfilled. Everything that needs to be known about them is known. How else is going to be done?
Hallelujah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hit it right on the nail. Hit it right on the nail. You know, and again, family, definitely understand many of you guys uh, uh, being hesitant about Candace Owens. You're supposed to.
You
You
can.
know, rightfully so. You know, I'm hesitant, you know, because of track record. But one thing I got to give her credit again. What other people at the level that she's on with their platforms have gone in the way that she's gone in?
Nobody. I will tell you that right now. Nobody. Not Oprah. Not Tamron Hall. Not nobody is touching this like this young lady is doing.
Yeah,
Nobody. Not Roland Martin. Not nobody is touching this, and they're not going to touch it.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
she's fishing in a different pond. The people that
Exactly.
listen, the people who listen to Roland Martin and Pastor Kelly and myself, that's going to reach certain people. But there's people who don't listen, who don't know the truth, who don't know who we are, listen to her and being sparked to question.
That's right. She's making people go look this information up.
yeah,
And now that this quasi war is going on, it's really making them go look. Because remember now it was all about pro-Israel, pro. You don't hear
yeah,
that anymore. You don't hear that anymore. Nobody's talking about
yeah,
pro-Israel.
yeah, yeah. And she
As a
even
matter of
started
fact,
speaking against Donald Trump.
Yeah,
tearing
you're
him
right.
up, tearing him
Yeah.
a new one. As a matter of fact, this
Said
would be
that
a
he's addicted to Israel. I was gonna put some of those clips in here.
this should be a sign on a major hit highway here in Houston that had Israel and United States holding hands in like in a marriage. That sign has been gone. It's destroyed. And I thought that was very interesting that sign left all of a sudden.
Hmm.
People are waking up to what's going on and looking at these people sideways and understanding that they are not that we being played. People are tired.
Yeah,
People tired of the money leaving out this country, going over there to them. That nobody can explain why. For decades upon decades. I saw a video starting with, I think it was Kennedy, or maybe Eisenhower. I can't remember. I think it's Eisenhower Kennedy. They show the amount of money that started then that's been going to Israel up to today. It was amazing. And nobody questioned it.
Hmm.
Nobody questioned it. To this day, nobody ever questions it.
yeah, yeah,
You know, it's Kennedy was the first one to bring out too their connections with past things that happened with our president. The fact that they're the only foreign lobbyist group that's in our government that's do not have to register as a foreign lobbyist group, and the fact that they have members that they have a representative to match every 400 and 420, is it 423, 40? How many House represented? Everyone has a person from APAC, and every senator have a person from APAC.
Mm-hmm. They do. Yes. Have to.
She
The
brought all that up.
CFR. The CFR. Yes. That's who elects everything. That's what pushes everything. That's how stuff get pushed from
Before
these
this,
group of
nobody was
people.
talking about none of this. Nobody was saying that. So it's coming. She bringing all that to light.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm just looking at the chat here.
I'm looking at it too on the screen.
So yeah, guys. Not going to drag this out here. We'll have more discussions on this because I know she's going to give us some more. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting for some other ones to come out now.
Mm-hmm. She's going to join her.
Yeah. So I'm anticipating on something bigger. That's going to really, be a huge shift and going to give a lot of information. And I am following this whole thing with the France thing because she win that, which I believe she will, but she win that.
Right.
That is huge. That is going to be
major huge. Now, if one day I wake up and she's sitting on the View, talking with those little sea hags on the View, and they start listening to her, then I know it's happening. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
When she's sitting on the View talking to them, then I know.
Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. We'll as the world turns. We'll keep monitoring it. So, with that being said, go ahead, sis.
I was gonna say, no, the Young and the Restless. That's what this is.
Yeah, man, I couldn't staying home with my grandmother.
I love that. I love
she'll be watching soap operas all during the day. I couldn't stand it.
That's right. That's right.
So, the Young and the Restless. Looking, chasing all their children, hanging out at the General Hospital.
Yep.
You walk in their house, they're having a conversation about somebody, and you think, who did all that? I think they're talking about a real situation. No, this happened on TV.
Yeah. So, well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I'll start with you, Sister Carol. Any final words you want to give? Anything you want to highlight? Anything coming up that you want to share with the people as we get ready to wrap it up?
If you haven't gone to We Woke Now Extended, I extend this opportunity for you to go over to that channel. And I want you to listen to the lives that Pastor Kelly Richardson has been doing on Genesis. It's time for us to get back to Genesis and really learn that book. I implore you to go over to We Woke Now Extended, it's the backup channel, and listen to the last, 2 months now?
Yep.
Of Genesis. Because let me tell you, none of this stuff that you see is going on is not going to make sense to you until you understand that book. And you got to take it line by line for you to really understand what that covenant was created for, who was created for, and why we're supposed to keep it. One group of people is supposed to keep it. And it's the key to everything that Candace is bringing out to everyone. It's about that. So yes, I would like all of you guys to listen to me. All the 700 of you to sit out there listening, go to that channel.
Amen.
Appreciate it, big sis. Appreciate it. Berean Scholar, any comments?
I'm happy, and I give all praises to y'all that this is stirring up in this atmosphere. How things are happening in the news now. Everybody's in uproar, but these questions are being raised up so people can start asking questions. That's the only thing what's it going to take to wake up people from this matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to shake them. So I'm happy.
Yeah, and tell them your channel too.
You can follow me on Berean Scholar on YouTube. I guess I'll put the link in the chat. We'll be doing another live tomorrow with my partner in the truth.
Amen. Well, family, and again, just keep your eyes and ears open. Make sure you continue to sharpen your discernment by studying. That's the key. You have to study and really have the attributes of the Holy Spirit to really navigate through the things that we see. And with that being said, I want to just, before we wrap up, if you are subscribed to the channel, double check to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel.
Yes.
Because YouTube has, over the course of having this channel, they have deleted over 25,000 subscribers, literally. And so if you believe that you're subscribed, double check to make sure that you are still subscribed. And if you're new to the channel, I encourage you guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Even if you don't like what was presented tonight, whether you hit the thumbs up or thumbs down, that's still a response. So I encourage you guys, hit that like button on your way out, and keep the momentum going in the comment section. Share a comment, share a thought, because all of that helps with what is called the impressions. When you guys are interactive in the comment section as well as the chat, that really helps getting the word out, because they have modified the algorithms to really target this awakening, to suppress the teachings, to suppress our channels, to make sure we don't get the word out. So when you hit that like button, let's just say we got 700, I think it went as high as over 800. We should have at least a minimum of 500 people already liking the video.
That's right.
Right. And when you, on your way out of the chat, so to speak, go to the comment section. If we could get, right off the back, 100 comments posted, that will help, giving us that breakthrough to navigate through what the algorithms are set for. So again, if you subscribe to the channel, double click to make sure you are subscribed. All right. So and also if you want to get the notifications, you guys know what to do as well. Double check to make sure you still have the notifications enabled, because they have also unselected that as well.
Yeah.
All right. But that's all I have. In the words, go ahead.
And then just everybody know that Pastor brings information and resources that is vital for this movement. This movement for the awakening for our people, because we're a bloodline. It's not a movement. It's not a religion. It's an awakening of a people of the Most High. And if everyone here can share his stuff to somebody else, because somebody that need to hear this, let's share it to them, gift it to them so they can hear this.
Amen. Well, there you have it, family. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love and support. We are on the path now to 100,000. Hard to believe we're even at this number.
I know.
And the person that convinced me to create this YouTube channel, she's on the channel right now. And she'll tell you I was like through with social media with what Microsoft, Facebook was doing to the account.
Facebook kept messing with. I said, get off this Facebook and get over to YouTube. I said, what you're teaching is not for no Facebook. It's for a YouTube audience where you can go across all algorithms. No, during the pandemic.
Sister Carrie, the person that convinced me, he's on the channel right now too.
I know.
Wow.
Who that Harpo? Nah.
And I really mean that, Pastor, because there's a special blessing for what you're doing, because you are opening the eyes. You help open my eyes, and there's a lot of people. I was on another live a little while ago. And this young man was showing how blessed he was. He said, "I never came on one of these live for y'all, but I listened to you." And he mentioned your name, and he mentioned a lot of names. He said that kept me going to hear these teaching, to hear who I was and how to build myself to walk with y'all. I didn't know how to do it because the church didn't teach me how to do it, but people like you are teaching us and showing us and bringing us to this awareness. And we know that YouTube and everybody else trying to stop it, but everybody who's listening, guys, you can break through by sharing it. You break through what YouTube's doing if you share it again and you post and you comment. You break through Those things they trying to hold down. And that same blessing the pastor gets for sharing it, you get it too. For sharing the message, you get it for sharing it to somebody else.
Amen.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, family, really appreciate you guys, and keep us in prayer because we're going through the motions right now. We're going through the next step of getting for the approval. They'll be voting on it in a few weeks. So that's a major milestone, because once they vote on it, of course, there'll be a couple other things we have to do, but at least I could start putting timelines together on, making things happen, as far as breaking ground and some other things that that's part of my project plan. So just keep us lifted in prayer, because, there's the obstacles are there, and territorial spirits are real.
Yes,
so with that being said, family, in the words of Yahweh in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, the words that he gave to Moses, to Israel, who was in a state of panic, fear, because they came out of Egypt and they came across what appeared to be a dead end. And they had the Egyptians coming to kill many of them and bring them back into bondage. But the Most High gave Moses these encouraging words. He said, "Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you." But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. The Hebrew word that's in the text is not shalom, and I know some of you guys may say shalom. The word that's there is charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was the... Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.